From the Watergate building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now here are Hotline editors John Mercurio and Amy Walter.
Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome back to Hotline TV. I'm John Mercurio.
And I'm Amy Walter. Last week, the FBI raided the Alaska home of Senator Ted Stevens, deepening the legal woes of the 83-year-old Republican senator. Now, Stevens becomes the second senior Republican senator up for re-election in 2008 to have a major ethical cloud gathering over his head. The first, Pete Domenici, has been implicated in the U.S. attorney scandal. This was earlier this year. John, what do you think of the Stevens investigation? And will Stevens and Domenici be in the Senate in January 2009?
I think it's clearly too early to tell. Pete Domenici looks as though he's been able to sort of weather the Iglesias U.S. attorney scandal. There hasn't really been a good Democratic challenger rising against him. There's still some rumors out there that he might retire. Ted Stevens, though, we're in the early stages of an investigation that every day last week looked as though it was sort of growing and expanding, not just in Alaska, but now also in Washington, with talk of him having used some Senate aides for some personal financial business. Look, this could potentially be, sort of the big scandal of 2008. We're already hearing, the comparisons between Alaska in 2008 and Ohio in 2006. You were talking about that earlier today. It's still, though, so early, and Ted Stevens still remains immensely popular in Alaska. Although, you got to remember, Frank Murkowski, his former Senate colleague, also an incredibly popular politician.
And very quickly.
In Alaska, made a huge sort of decline quickly as governor.
Yep.
And so you could see that happen as well. I think the big thing to remember is that Alaska doesn't love its politicians deeply and personally. It sends its politicians, its members of Congress to Washington to bring the money back.
Yeah.
And if they're not bringing the money back, and if they're also labeled and proven to be ethically corrupt, I think they can see their popularity vanish pretty quickly.
Yeah, usually that ethically corrupt helps bring your ratings down,
your
probably in every state,
down,
but
right.
In Alaska too. We'll give them some.
Right.
So really, the question is: does Ted Stevens stay, run for re-election, or try to fight this out? I mean, this is the kind of guy. He's obviously a little bit prickly, shall
sure.
we say?
We shall.
This is somebody who wants to defend his honor. He's at the same time, he's somebody who, I don't know, does he really want to put up with the kind of fight that Murkowski had to put up with? Does he really want to stick in this? As he said, he's 83 years old. He'd have to go back and campaign seriously.
Right.
And that is not easy to do, to fly back and forth to Alaska, to go and maybe even get a primary challenge. Right,
but on the other hand, look, I think he's also someone who, has a lot of sort of personal quirks, if you will, but is also somebody who's extremely, and you've always heard this about him, extremely proud, and I think would refuse, if he's in the middle of this investigation, if he honestly believes that he'll be able to withstand it, refuses to sort of end his, 60-year political career in Alaska on a down note, under an ethical cloud.
Right.
If he actually believes, and if his political strategists tell him that it's possible to actually get through this. So, I definitely don't see that, we have to write his political obituary yet.
All right, so like Lisa Simpson, clap for Alaska.
Clapping for Alaska.
I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm John Mercurio. We'll see you next time on Hotline TV.